But yeah, you're right.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the leadership journey of growth, burnout, and purpose. So leadership is a marathon, not a sprint. You said something about burnout earlier today,
Yeah.
and we just talked about managing our energy and staying grounded. So what mindset behaviors separate leaders who burn out to those who can endure and grow?
Okay. So I think the first thing is burnout isn't just about your workload. And I think if you know a lot of if you've gone through phases in a job, whether it's in a bank or a consultancy or telecom or whatever, you'll go through phases of the year or work where your workload is absolutely gargantuan and you cope all right with it, and then you'll go through other phases where it's maybe not quite as much, but it really beats you up and it feels it feels really draining. So it's about, again, coming back to what we talked about right at the start, it's the relationship that we have with pressure. If you're in a state of constant urgency, like got to get it done, I need to do this, everything feels important, everything feels personal, immediate. I've got to get this done. And then you've got that brackets of or, and probably what fits in those, in that unsaid piece is I'm going to fail. I'm not going to be good enough. People are going to criticize me and so on. So if you stay in that kind of mind all the time, there's no recovery. And I went through this myself where, suddenly you find it harder to switch off, when you go home at night, and then you find it harder to fall asleep and stuff. And so the sort of snowball happens until, you're absolutely frazzled. In order to kind of avoid that, I think there's three things that you can do, or three things that I found useful. One is, you prioritize. Two is you regulate your state. And I'm talking about, starts with your breathing there, but also what, how you're thinking. And the third thing, which it took me a long time to be able to do this, is to separate your identity from your role. And so, you talked about deciding to go in and thinking about how can I sort of help these people around me, or how can we achieve something, and taking the kind of person out, the ego out of it. That's really what I'm talking about there. And it wasn't so much that I had a massive ego, although